MPS, motherfucker. MPS in the house. It's hey, it's Corona time, and I'm your host, DJ LED, aka BJ Fornicati, and I got my man Chuckie, aka Chuckie Dread, representing from Terre Haute, and we're all on lockdown, but thanks to technology, we can still connect and get this thing going. How you doing, Chuckie?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm nice and cozy at the house, quarantined, keeping my social distancing on, you know. Even for my girlfriend, it kind of helps for, you know, sanity purposes.
Sure, man. 6 feet, man. 6 feet ain't that much. That's like basically like, you know, somebody laying on the ground and you're at their feet and she's at the head, and that's about the distance. Not that far, so. I think this generation, you're starting to hear more people like Bruno Mars, for example, and The Weeknd, who are wearing it on their sleeve. I mean, as legendary as Michael is, you gotta admit, there's something corny about him. After Bad, I kind of tuned out on the fashion thing for sure. I was never into the glitter glove and you know, the plastic surgery.
See, but the thing is that his market audience, you know, it's so wide. You know, everyone from kids to old adults, you know, they knew Michael. So it was kind of hard to actually, like, really vibe with him 100%, because I think he was trying to talk to everybody. He wasn't just trying to reach out to, you know, the main consumers of music, which is young adults, I think. So that's why Michael was definitely strange, but
he's global. He was a global superstar pre-internet. You know, before the internet was even a thing, Michael was able to touch, no pun intended, but touch lives all over the world. And then, you know, he was instantly recognizable. I bet you, like in 1984, at the peak of his solo fame, you could go to like the deepest, darkest, most backward, you know, non-Western civilized village in Africa and find someone who was like doing the moonwalker, singing "Beat It," you know, because he was so big, and people forget about that. That one time Michael Jackson, he was so successful, it was sickening. It was like, damn, when's this guy gonna finally fall off? Little did we know that when he finally did fall off, it would be in such a staggering proportion. But you know, the legend lives on, and that's the important thing to keep in mind is that, and especially in these days and times. Are you like me, Chuckie, in that you feel like right now there's a huge emphasis on music and movies and the arts in general? And don't you feel kind of like justified in your pursuit of art as a, not just a hobby, but something that you want to devote your spare time to? I mean, we've both heard it from people, hey, keep the day job, this and that, you know, and people don't understand. This is something we would do whether we were rich or famous or whether we were homeless on the street. This is something that we would be into, that we would care about. Does it feel kind of vindicating for you that right now what the world needs now is music and art?
Totally. I mean, throughout history, art and music have sculpted society. So I'd say right now society needs a lot of that. I think we're going down a dangerous path, and honestly, music and art kind of saves the world in a way. You know, it's kind of like it was kind of like the introduction of, you know, like alcohol. You know, I think it's just with the right composition, you know, music can do a lot of things, and art can do a lot of things. Like, it can heal, and it can move people, motivate people to create some sort of change. And I think that also, playing back on what we were just talking about with Michael, I believe the conspiracies surrounding his life, you know, from his dad, you know, abusing him at such a young age.
Dude, he was chemically castrated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is, I mean, to be able to carry on and still perform, and maybe he wasn't all that normal, but to be able to carry on and perform still after that type of stuff, it definitely speaks volumes about the type of person that he was and what he cared about. Because anytime you see his interviews or whatever, he talks about, you know, his mission and what he was hoping to do with his music. And he just wanted to inspire people and show them, spread love.
A lot of people don't talk about Michael Jackson being the victim because the public still is wrapping its head around a lot of things associated with that. Even after 20 years of accusations, that people are still grappling with it. But let's not forget, I mean, it wasn't like Michael was only a predator. He was a victim too, and that doesn't justify anything, but it explains it very much so. If people actually go into detail and research and try and figure, you know, do some research on it, they'll see that Michael's just as much a victim as he was a victimizer, and perhaps that fuel to succeed, that drive to be number one, was fueled by demons that he couldn't shake or whatever, and that speaks to a lot of people, and that's why they're willing to forgive him on wax. But in real life, you know, it's okay to like not like somebody whose records you listen to. There's a lot of people who I think are scumbags, but I like their music. Like, you know, I'm not necessarily a big fan of Jimmy Page as a human being, but you strap on a 6-string on him and he's great. So that's what I'm judging him on.
I suppose I can get behind that a little bit. I'm a little bit more political with my decision in music. Whenever I find someone has done some heinous things in their off time, you know, I tend to just stop listening to them altogether. Take the Baby, for instance. His music was good and he was a good performer, but I can't look away when someone has captured the eyes of thousands of millions of people, fans, you know, and this is what you do when you have that attention, is you are beating your fans up, and it's an ego thing to me. And to me, I think that artists need to humble themselves a little bit more, because the fans made them. You know, without people listening to you and supporting you, you wouldn't get where you get. Otherwise, you'd just be someone else dancing and singing on the street, just like thousands of other musicians out here. It was no secret, you know, the dude talks about it in his music, how he just is super disrespectful to women and shit, and it's like, you didn't pay attention to it at first because, you know, a majority of rap actually does the same thing, which to me, I think is some type of like industry thing. Industry rappers are sold on trying to appeal to what sells, or what their record label wants them to sell, what their lyric content needs to have, you know.
Yeah, it's all marketing.
Yeah, and that is like, you can see it because they stick to that script, and it shows consistently throughout their music. So I think in the beginning, yeah, it was cool and all, but I don't know, I'm starting to become a little bit more mature about the stuff I listen to. Drake is someone that is well liked because he is somewhat soft. He tries to appeal to a larger audience, you know, and he makes music that a lot of people can sing and dance to, you know, like God's Plan. He's not out here talking about how he's slapping bitches and hitting licks and shit like that in his music. People don't want to hear about that.
But that brings up another thing too, related to Michael. You know, the last dirt I heard on Drake was that I guess he was hanging out with the girl from Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown, and they were like friends, and people were kind of like, dude, that's kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
you know?
She's super young.
Right, but you know, at the same time, what people forget is that the entertainment industry, you've got everyone from 8 to 80 performing, so you keep company with the people you normally wouldn't hang out with. You know, I don't think it's any weirder that he's hanging out with her than it is if he was hanging out with like a basketball player, you know, or an actor, since he was an actor on Degrassi High, you know.
The thing that got him in trouble was he was texting her shit. That was like, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Exactly. He wasn't just hanging out with her. He was texting her things that suggested that he likes her. And that's
oh wow, that's great.
What we're pissed off about is that Drake, and he even admits it in one of his newer songs, Life is Good with Future. He has a song where he talks about, you know, some N-words caught me slipping, so what? That's one of the fucking bars in this new song. And I think that was the thing that he was referencing to, because it was like after the fall of Drake. Because I remember there was like a summer particularly where this whole thing got busted wide open, and he fell from his pedestal. You know, he was on top of the world forever.
Yeah.
You know.
But I didn't know any of this about Drake. I didn't realize that it went that deep. I thought it was just like, you know, he took a picture with her on the red carpet and people are like, ooh. So, you know, yeah, actions speak louder than words for sure.
A part of me was kind of giddy about it because Drake had his time. You know, it was at that point where he kind of needed to go and share the spotlight with somebody else that was going to revolutionize the sound. Because we've had the same Drake for the last 5 years, you know.
Well, my buddy Greenhouse, he can't stand Drake. It's so funny. Like, he is just like, he thinks Drake is everything that's wrong with music, and I could see his point. But you know, I like some of his beats.
That's the thing, is I like it too, but it was designed particularly for that reason. It wasn't designed to be like, oh, we think people are really gonna like this song. It was like, no, this shit is designed particularly because the beat and the lyrical content. He's got engineers working on this shit. You know, Drake has got a lot of money poured into designing his songs. It's not just some like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and write a cool song today. No, he's got the ghostwriters on it, and he's got a fucking team of producers working in the studio that are just pumping this stuff out. And I'm sure they have listening parties and upon listening parties to, you know, really just kind of narrow it down to the songs they think are really going to go big. Because if you notice, most of the songs that Drake releases, they turn into hits. So that's not accidental, and that's certainly not because he's so good. I think he is sort of monotone with his music, and it's falling flat nowadays. Rap is starting to get a little more technical, and because people are trying to change up not just the sound but the whole package.
Well, Drake is big to the point where you can kind of do an imitation of him. Like for example, I always imagine what it would be like if Drake was at Denny's ordering something and be like, you know, let me get a side order eggs, put it with the gravy in, I'll pay you in a minute. You know, it's like, you know, ordering a pizza. Let me get a pepperoni large. You know, just he has that kind of clip flow. You can recognize him. He's brand name now, and you know, but that's the price of fame too, man. And like in this day and age, the whole game has changed now. People aren't doing shows because they're on lockdown. They're afraid of getting sick. Session musicians who make their bread and butter off of gigging daily, shit's not happening for them. Friends of mine who are about to go on tours or who are like roadies for established acts or whatever and have their own groups that are signed to labels, everything's shut down, you know, and it sucks. And at the same time, I feel like for people like you and me, I think it's the perfect time for us to create and start making up for all the lost time, I like to call it, because man, if it weren't for me working, I would do this all the time. But now I'm not busy. We ain't doing shit. It's like Friday, you know. You ain't got shit to do. You ain't got no job. Why not make some creative content? So I think this is the perfect time, and I'm glad you hit me up about it, because I'd already posted the podcast that we did in December with that guy 9. I wonder what's happening with that guy. I mean, did he go back to his mom's? Is he still hustling on the street? This might be the perfect time for someone like him to actually get that foot up that he needed.
Yeah, it's going to start getting warm here soon, too, so he's got that going for him as well.
But wouldn't that be a trip if, like, in 6 months, a year, suddenly you hear this guy and you're like, I heard this shit before, and it's him, but he's like 10 times better. You know, I didn't want to diss on him when he was in the studio, you know, but then again, he's been homeless for 8 years. He has to work on his flow a bit, you know, he's
for sure.
You know, but I mean, I've seen musicians just apply themselves, and 6 months later they're good at what they do. Like, I knew this girl who was already a musical genius played the violin and the viola, and studied at music college and things like that. Knew theory, knew how to read music, and I was playing in a rock band with her in LA, and she didn't know how to sing. She couldn't sing to save her life. It was bad. She wasn't even flat. She was just completely off. Took vocal lessons 6 months later. Not only did she know how to carry a tune, but she also learned piano and wrote like 3 or 4 songs that would kill her in that time. So, I don't want to like diss homie and be like, yo, you was whack, bro. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. If he was really that sick and ill, we'd still be talking to him right now like, hey, let's get something going with this guy. He's got mad fire. But at the same time, this is a perfect opportunity right now with the way the world is for someone like him to literally come up and suddenly a couple of years from now, this guy's like done something with his life, I wish the best for people like that. That was a pretty trippy podcast, a little different from the normal thing.